Hi, welcome back. Here with Mr. Canada here today, and we're ordering fractions, decimals, and percentages. So, to compare or order our FDP, we have to either convert it to all fractions, all decimals, or all percentages. So that means getting all of our numbers as decimals, all as percents, or all as fractions. From doing these conversions, you may have noticed that, well, decimals are kind of preferred to work in because fractions to decimals is quite straightforward, and percent to decimals is very straightforward. So, that's why we typically work in decimals, but if you love fractions, go right ahead. If you love percentages, go right ahead. But keep in mind that a percentage is just one more step usually to a decimal. So, I'm going to choose to convert them all to decimals. That's my choice. So I'm not going to go through the actual nitty-gritties of what the decimals actually are or how to get them. I'm just going to go with how we order them. So convert each number to a decimal. So before I actually do that, I'm going to recopy out my original values. And I'll show you why I do this after, because I want to have some more workable room with them. Because if you set them up like this, always, then your life will be easy. And I just realized how many numbers are, so I'm not going to space them out as much as I was doing. So the reason that we want to set them up with some room underneath is because that is where I actually want to start converting them, is directly under each of these. So that means whether if it's calculator, non-calculator, doesn't matter. I still want to be able to state right underneath. So if you have to do your working out somewhere else, that is completely fine. Always try to do these without a calculator, because with a calculator it's nice and simple. And more often than not, they'll have these on a non-calculator paper, so don't rely on technology. So 0.2 is going to stay as 0.2. Alright, so we're going to keep that as 0.2. 3/4, well, 75 over 100, so that's 0.75. 40% is just decimal 40. Then we have 0.85. That doesn't change. 3/5 is the same as 6/10, so that's 0.6. 0.78 for 78%, and 0.46. Alright, so that's them all as decimals. So we're done step 1. Step 2, if you notice, is order the decimals. So the reason I wanted them right underneath will be for step 3. So just worry about ordering. So I'm looking for a 0.1 or 0.0 first. No 0.0. Okay, 0.1. None. 0.2 is our next. So our very first one is our starter. So I'm going to cross out as I go. But I still want to be able to see underneath. So don't scribble it out so you cannot see. So any more 0.2s? No. 0.3? No. Well, the 0.40 is our next. So let's put that there. Then we can cross that one out. So 0.5. Nope, but we have a 0.46. Let's not forget that before continuing. But there's no 0.5. There is this 0.6 here. 0.75. 0.78. And lastly, 0.85. So it's nice crossing them out, because when you get down to the last couple, they go really quick. So we have them all ordered in terms of decimals. So what did I say the last step was? Replace the decimals with the format from the question. So that means that means our final answer should have all of these numbers in them. Not our converted, not these ones, but these ones. We want these ones up here. So that's why if we write them stacked on top of each other, when we come to look at our blue line, we can just look back at our red, find where that decimal is, and then look above it for what form we want. So you'll see what I mean. So here we have 0.2. That's our starting. So I'm just going to do the same thing, cross out as I go. 0.4, well, that was here, and we can look up, that was 40%. Next one was 0.46. Where was 0.46? It was on the end here, so it was 0.46 to begin with. Next was 0.6. So I look for my 0.6, which is here. Look up, it was 3/5. Carrying on, 0.75. Well, where's that? It was over here. So that was 3/4. Right? Then we have 0.78. 78 was 78%. And last but not least, our 0.85. So, once again, the trick is just kind of making sure you are as neat as possible, write stuff in nice, neat rows, kind of line them up right above each other. That way, when it goes time to put them back in the original form, it is nice and easy and you don't have to trace yourself around. I'd advise almost having different colors of ink if that helps you and you're more visual, like I did. So, and one thing I didn't mention is it was put in this ascending order that I kind of glossed over. Ascending means least to greatest, but we should know that already. Here we're ordering from least to greatest, which is, once again, another word for saying ascending. Right? So here, first step, let's convert them all. So, I got 0.70. 0.07, 0.71, 0. Well, I actually don't know what 1/7 is off the top of my head. So I'm, like I said, if I don't know, I have to actually do the maths. So 7 goes into 1, can't. So do that, put a decimal. Now it goes in once, with 3 remaining. 7 can go into 30 4 times. And then, so I was just looking at something. 2 remaining. 7 goes into 20 2 times. I'm going to leave at 0.142 because I don't have any more digits than that there. So 0.142, 0.72, and -7. So least to greatest. Well, that last one was a negative, right? So I know right away my very last value here is going to be my -7, right? Then I want closest to 0 on the positive side, which is a 0.07 here. Then I have, going along, this 0.142. Then we have 0.70, 0.71, 0.72. So now we can look back at our original values. So -7, then we have 0.07, which was 0.07. So that one didn't matter, it didn't change. This was the 1/7. This was 7/10. 71 was 71%. And lastly, 0.72. So the very last question example I'm gonna go through is put the following descending order. So keep in mind descending. That means we are going to start with our big and slowly get to something smaller. Right. So first thing, as always, let's convert. So 3/5. This is 0.6. 3/7. Well, if we have to do it, let's see. 7 goes in 4 times, 2 remainder. 7 goes into 20 twice, 6 remainder. 7 goes into 60 8 times. So we'll leave it at 0.43. So everything else seems to be the 2 decimal places. Okay, so we can put 0.43. Next one we can reduce, and it'll be 0.6 repeating, because recurring decimal, that's 2/3. Then 0.4, 0.52, 5.3, 0.6, and 0.43. Okay, so let's order them. Smallest thing, 0.6 is the smallest. Now 0.43. 0.4 is now winning. So I'm going to say it's 0.4. Okay. So first thing is 0.4. I'm going to cross it up. Next. Well, there's 0.43 and 0.43. Ooh, that's not good. So with this one, let's actually look back here. Oh, it was 0.428. So this one, let's put 0.428. Then we'll put our 0.43. Then we can put 0.52. And now some people might put this 5.3, but keep in mind where the decimal place is. So the next one actually is 0.6. And we have two of these. So it doesn't actually matter the order we're going to put those two in. We can't say they're any different. I'm just going to do it left, right when I actually go and do this. And lastly, 5.3 on the end. Okay. Sorry, I just had to sneak that in. Very last thing, as always, put it back in the original form. So this is going to be 0.4. Then that is 3 over 7. Sorry, 3 over 7, 43%. Then 52%. Then 3/5. Then 0.6. Then 4 over 6. And lastly, 5.1. One thing that you might want to do is just check how many terms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So always just quickly count the terms. Can even be a better check than nothing, making sure that you didn't miss out something by accident. Okay. So here's some questions for you to practice. When you're ready, press play, and then I'll go through the answers. Okay, so welcome back. Let's quickly go through these. So very quickly, we're going to see that this is 0.2. I'm not going to convert them all, just the fractions, because I can kind of visualize the other ones. So here, I know that my smallest is 15%. Then I have 0.2, 1/5, 0.2, 15%, 1/5, 1/4, and then 33%. Right. Next off, I know that this is 0.86 and this is 0.8. Right. Now, right away, 75%. So as you can tell, what I do for an example versus what I actually do is very different in a question for myself. You might not be at this stage yet, which is completely fine. But I'm trying to also show you where you can start to take some shortcuts. Okay. So, sorry, 82% is this one. And then lastly, we've got this 43 over 50 and 0.865. Okay. So, next we have 0.45. That 40.2 is actually quite big. So that'll be very last thing. We know that for sure. Right? Oh, but do we? There's a 41. So actually, 41, 40.2. And there's nothing wrong with actually doing what I just did. And if you see some numbers that are kind of outrageous, and you know that they're going to be way far back there, just use them first. So, next, I don't know what 40 over 101 is. But I know 40 over 100 is 0.4. So I know that that is actually my smallest. So I'm just going to write 40 over 101. So if they don't actually ask you to show work, you can kind of use your common sense with some of this and use your, well, quick estimating and judgments. You'll get that. Moving on to question 4. We'll actually have to start writing out a little bit of maths. So first off, see what we do know. We have 0.43. I don't know that off the top of my head. I know that's 0.21. Only ones I don't know are those two actual fractions. So let's see if we can't take care of them quickly. So 67, oops, 67 on the outside. So how many times does 67 go out into 400? Well, that's just going to be 0.5. And then 9 and 7. So 0.597. And then, what's 30 over 39? Alright, that's 0.769. And we can just kind of leave it there. So, I'm going to go back, move over to a green pen, and start ordering these. So, I have this negative over here. I know that's first, so negative. Negative 0.9. Okay, that one's done. Next off, 0.89 is quite big. 0.7. I've got this 0.21 at 21%. So 21%. Right. Keep going. What else? We got 0.7, 0.4, 43% is our next. So it's just, you just got to keep going through and slowly writing them down at this point. So 40 over 67. We have 30 over 39, and lastly 0.89. Okay, so next one, I'm going to do this one in black. So we got 0.3 recurring, 0.25, 0.2, and that gives us enough. So I'm looking at 0.2 first, which is a fifth. Right, so 1/5 goes first. Next thing is 0.25, so that's 1/4. Then 0.26. Then 29%. Then 0.3. Then 1/3. Okay. And very last question. You'll see these pop up quite a bit when we're talking about fractions, decimals, percentages. So I'm just going to pull this one down here. So which is closer to 1 and why? The why is your actual working out. Which is closer. You do not actually get marks unless you work it out completely. So it's all or nothing kind of. But they don't really tell you that. So here, let's do 5 and 7. And over here, we're going to do 7 and 5. Okay? So how many times does 7 fit into 5? It doesn't. So we can add a 0, put a decimal. Well, that goes in 7 times, 1 remainder. Goes into tens. 10 one time, 3 remainder, goes into 34 times, 0.714. I'm going to leave it at 3 and just, because I don't really care past that. I think I'll have enough to explain myself. How many times, oops, I wrote the exact same thing on this one. Sorry, swap those around. So how many times can 5 fit into 7? Well, at 1 time. And then, what are we left over with? Well, we're left over with 2. It can't go in, so I put that decimal. Goes into 24 times. Okay? So, which is closer to 1? Well, this is 0.4 away. And this is 0.29 away. So, 5 over 7 is closer. Right? Very simple, straightforward.